Okay, time for the actual code that drops our information from the first page, Meso West, into the mini base. We're actually going to transfer some stuff around. Let's clean house real quick and take a deep breath. Tools, macros, organize macros, basic macros, and here we are back in the windrows. You can shrink those down. And we're going to go to hand coded, and I've already brought in this thing called function mini base transfer. Let's have an edit on it. Pulling this up. There's some coding in here. Let's see. The trouble with this guy is I can't zoom in on him super well, so you're really going to have to watch the mouse. So you'll notice right off the bat there's a lot of words in here. Okay, this thing is not as complex as the words would suggest. All of these words, see this little apostrophe here right above the I-beam? These things, whenever you have apostrophe in front of a line, it's a comment, meaning that the computer sees that line as nothing. It just simply goes past it and doesn't execute this code. So these things are here so that we can remember what the hell it was that we were coding for when we recorded the macro. And so first thing that you'll notice on here is it says this is two-part routine with error checking controlling the start. It moves things like the hazard rating or defining an event back to the microbase. In our case, not the microbase, back to the mini base. And all we're doing is taking code that's already been written and we're cobbling it to fit our needs. So first thing it does is what's called an error check. So it says, okay, go to the sheet. So when you see something like this, the word sheet is actually a variable, and it's equal to this component, controller active sheet. In other words, if you're on the first page, like we are, it makes this sheet the active sheet. And what this allows the computer to do is sniff around and actually make manipulations. It defines a second variable called OProblem to get cell range by name GB01. Well, that's silly because we're not in GB01. We are in, and we scroll down, we are in D8 on this sheet. Okay, I think that's 8, yeah. So what we want to do is backspace D, and then scroll over here, delete 8. That sets OProblem to D8. And now it says in the very first thing it said OProblem get string blah 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 blah. Well, what I'm going to have it do is I'm going to not have it say that. I'm going to have it back up. We're keying off the word ready. And then it's not a matter of if it's equal to ready. It's if it's not equal to ready. I don't want to print anything. I'm just going to hang this up like so. So all I did was put that little italics in, and that made it go away. So it won't actually print a warning. Actually, yeah, I'll leave it like that, because we'll know if it doesn't work, it'll just quit. Then it says exit subroutine. So what this did was say right off the bat, if it's not ready, I'm not going to run. Well, that was easy enough. Okay, so if it is ready, if it does say ready, then it will run. So when we go through and have a look at the next step in the process, it's going to go through one more time and redefine sheet to the active sheet. O column, get sheet by range. So O column. Now that column word is set up there to remind me that this is my column number. Well, wait a second. If I look back on this page, my column number is in H. It's in H4. Let's make sure this was D8. Yeah, so it's in H4. So if I come back into my code and I cobble this up to here, it's actually in backspace H, backspace 4. Okay, now I have this thing set up so that my O column already tells me what column I'm going to wind up going to. Source cell range. Holy smokes, what is this? 196.0, 196.200. That's interesting. And then there's a little note over here. It says column row accumulates the day from cell G01, the title of the daily sheet. So this tells me what data it is that I want to move. So I come back over here and I'm going to say, well, I am in row 1, cell number 2. Okay. So I come down here. Wait, back up again. See, it's really tricky. I'm actually in column 1 and no, I am in row 2. No, I'm in row 1. Row 1, column 1. I really hate that convention. So I'm in 1, 1. So I'm going to take this and edit it. 1. Delete 1. And then column 1. And I'll go down to row 200. So 1, 1, 1, 200. Okay. This tells me where the information is that I'm going to get for it. And it's getting it in terms of row and column data. Okay. Back up in here. Part 2. I need the destination sheet. And it looks like destination sheet is get sheets by name mini base. This tells the controller that not micro base, but mini base is the sheet to be worked on. So this is where the information is going. Obviously you can't change mini base as its name after this without having to dig around and change all of this stuff. Look at this thing. So O destination cell range. Get range by position. O column get string 1. O column get string 201. Okay, I didn't mean to resize that. So if I go back and I have a look at where I'm trying to get to, O column get string. Here's O column. That string is in H4. So 1. So column 1. That's why we called it O column. Scroll back up. 1, 1 to 1, 201. That's interesting. So I want to make sure that I do 200 bits every time. So 1 to 201. Maybe what I should have done up here is delete and gone down 201 steps. So now I go 1, 201 and 1, 201. And then this has some funky thing here I'm just going to get rid of because that's another function that was made. Oh, destination cell range, source cell range, get data array. So this one line says take our first defined column and put it in our second defined column. And our second defined column changes based on this O column variable. And the O column variable changes based on what's in H4. And H4 changes based on what column the date is in. So by finding the column for the date, I reset where everything is going to wind up going. Holy smokes. Will this work? That's always the question. There's a lot of things that you have to try and keep straight, but there's only one way to find out. We hit save. And function mini base transfer. And close out of that. Come over here. Probably going to have to debug this thing, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make a button like we did before, assign macro. Don't worry about the runtime environment. Give this a second to populate. And coded. Function mini base transfer assign. Okay, it's assigned. Clicking out of here. Here's our first test. Well, you know what? Let's just hit the save button before we go diddlying with things. Boom. No idea if it worked or not until I get over here. All of that information that we had in that column just got transferred over to here. And looking at it, it looks like it changed my date code up here. So that's the only problem we have so far. That's actually not bad. Let's see if Control-Z will undo that mess. It did, even better. So what we know is that we don't want to go down to row 1. We want to go down to row 2 where complete is and skip changing the date. We already have the date in both places. So why not just go down 1 extra row? So this should be pretty easy to debug. Coming back over here to tools, down to macros, organized macros, basic. Function mini base transfer, edit. And let's go up to my first place where I had to deal with cell ranges. So column, fine, row 1. So let's make that row 2. And then when we come down here, let's make this row 2 and hit save. And then we'll close out of this. See why this debug button's nice? I come back over here, I pop the silly thing. That went to complete. That was kind of cool how that worked. That says complete instead of ready. That's kind of cool. And over here in the mini base, what do we got? Our formatting remained the same, which is awesome. And all of these numbers got transported over. So whenever this runs, it takes a snapshot in time of what's out there, and boom, I'm all set up on having my data committed into the mini base. And it worked blazingly fast, a whole lot faster than highlighting, copy, and pasting, and more importantly, a whole lot more accurate. Let's Control-Z this and just watch that go back to pending. And then back over here, notice what happens here. Yes, 1, ready. Or pending, yes, 1, ready. Click, complete, yes, 1, complete. This is pretty darn nice. When this gets set up, I'm going to Control-Z again and then come back. This ready tag that you see right here, once this program is set up and auto-executing whenever you open the spreadsheet, you will never see this use the word ready. It will either say pending or it will say complete. That whole ready tag was buried inside of there so that the macro would know whether to trigger or not to trigger. And if it's ever able to trigger and it's on auto-execute, it's just simply going to run. That's the beauty of this, so that when you boot and turn this on, if it's possible, it already consumed all of the data that you needed to consume. Thanks for watching.